Welcome back to Motors and Medicine. On today's episode, I'm going to be working on the Bronco again. This time I'm going to be installing a front-facing camera down in the bumper region. This particular Bronco just didn't come equipped with a front-facing camera for trails, and it really would have come in handy if I had had a front-facing camera. It probably would have been able to avoid some of these scraping obstacles that I ended up scraping underneath the Bronco on that last trip to Moab. So what I'm going to try to focus on today is placement of the camera, and then I'm going to be running the wire from the front bumper all the way through the firewall and into the cab, and then try to fish it through in a conspicuous manner so that, or rather an inconspicuous manner so that it's not highly visible. I'm going to try to hide the wire as best as I can because I just don't want a whole bunch of wires hanging out. And the monitor is actually pretty small. It looks just like this. So this is going to get mounted on the dash. And the front camera looks just like this. There. And it's got a 3M binding there that'll kind of hold it in place. It's also adjustable. So this camera, I'll be able to adjust the angle of the camera for my liking and for the trail. So that's going to be a nice additive bonus there. So what I'm going to try to do is just map out where I'm going to be going. And as soon as I get everything situated, I'll bring the camera over and I'll show you guys where I'm running the wires so that you guys can kind of see how to maybe do this if you want to install something like this on your own Bronco, or any other off-road vehicle for that matter. This should install pretty well on just about anything. So rather than try to retrofit some type of front-facing camera that just wasn't intended for this Bronco, this is a little bit easier. I have heard that there is a way to integrate into the system that the car already has, but it's very complicated. It requires a whole bunch of different modules, and I just don't want to get into anything that complicated. So this method is going to work out pretty well, and it should yield a very similar result without having to compromise the screen that I already have in use. So I'm going to go ahead and get a couple things set up, and then I'll bring the camera over and show you where I am, what my thought process is. All right, guys. So in a Bronco that's equipped with a front-facing camera, it actually goes right here in between the O and the N. This is where they mount it. And then it's kind of pointed down. So what I'm going to do, you can see here, I'm actually going to mount this camera right in this center here, align with that. And this can rotate so I can adjust it down or up or whatever I want. I'm going to run the wire tucked into this all the way through the firewall. And then you guys see here in the engine bay, I'm actually going to run it all the way down into this area right here. So this area right here is there was a grommet there that comes from Ford. So that goes right in through the firewall into the cab. So I can fish the wire through there, and I'll have to puncture a hole through that little grommet just so that the wire sits firm. Run it through there, up underneath the dash, and then plug it into the device, into the monitor. So that's kind of the route. I'm gonna just run the wires along here, tuck them in, and hopefully that ends up working out. I don't really foresee any difficulty with that as long as the wire stays away from any heat source or anything like that. So I'm just going to try to map out where I'm going to run this wire, and then I'll show you guys where I've run it and how it tucks in underneath the dash, and we'll go to that point. Okay, so I took the little grommet that's inside the firewall, and I drilled a hole through it that you can see right there. And that's where I'm going to fish the camera wire through that, so it'll create a good seal. And I'm going to show you guys underneath the dash, exactly where that wire is coming through. Actually, I'm going to show you where it's coming through the top first. So let me go and show you that. Okay, so now I'm in the cab, and I'm just going to show you real quick what I had to do here. I had to remove the speaker mesh that's in here. You can see here's the speaker for the front. This is actually the wire that's going to get hooked up over here. What I did was there's a passage down through here that will go directly down, and then it goes underneath the dash, and I'll show you what that looks like on this other end. Okay, so you guys can see here is the hole through the firewall, and here's the wire that I pulled through right here. You can see it right there. This is the camera wire. So I'm going to run this through here, but I'm going to fish it through the grommet first, and then head back all the way through the engine bay and down to the front bumper and get that hooked up. Okay, so now you can see how I've fished the wire through. Let me see if I can get that into focus right there. So this grommet's going to go push right back through the firewall, and I'm going to take the wire with it. And then I'm just going to pull this wire through all the way through the engine bay, and hopefully can get it lined up in a position where it's not going to be near any heat, but it should work fine. And that's the next step. So I'm going to run it through, plug this grommet back in, show you what that looks like, and then as we're pulling it through, I'll show you where I'm going to fish it. So we'll do that next. Okay, so now you can see there the grommet is back in place and the wire is fished right through. Looks nice and clean there. Then come out of the vehicle and I'll show you the other end here. Right there, you can see where it came through on the firewall, and then just tracing the wire down this way, dropped it down through here. This is the wire right here, and now it came out right in here. So as you can see, we've got the wire here, and here's the other end. There's my camera there mounted already, and you can see here that this adjusts. See that? So now I'm going to just clean this up, plug it into this, tucked behind this bumper, so you won't see any wires except for just this little bit here. But it'll essentially be like that, just tucked in. Plug it in, and then we'll get the other end situated. Okay, so now you can see here, camera's been installed right there. The wire, I tucked it underneath this, totally tucked in underneath the bumper, and then the wires now run up here, and you can see here, I zip tied part of it. Now I'm going to take all this excess wire here, and I'm going to run it back to the firewall, wrap it all up, and tuck it and zip tie it underneath the dash, so we can clean all this mess up. And now that's pretty much done as far as the installation of the camera wires. So we'll move on to the next step. All right, so made quite a bit of progress here. One more just quick check at the front here with the camera. Again, that's adjustable. Tucked the wire all in through here, straight back. And then you can see the wire right here. Zip tied it, ran it along the side, and then down into the grommet over here, which you can see right here. And so that's through. Then on the inside, you can see right there that that's where it came through. This other end went up, and I ran these through where the speaker comes up. So I was able to run both of these wires. And what these wires are now is the connections. One is the camera. One is the camera there in front, and the other is power. So power, I actually started it here. I'm going to show you here. if you can see here, the switched 12-volt source, which is the cigarette lighter. And you can see I just ran it underneath. And there was a tiny hole there that I had to make inside the box just to get the wire through. Once I ran it through there, then I just ran it underneath all this plastic cladding and then tucked it back up underneath the dash and through the speaker hole and then ran it out here. So now all the wires are tucked, and having the wires tucked is something I prefer just because I want it to look better. But now what I'm going to do is, now that we've got the camera mounted, the wire ran from the front through the firewall, up through the dash, and now sitting here on the top of the dash. And then the power cable from inside the little box here, my vault, and running through the center console cladding, the plastic, and then up through the dash again, and through the speaker, and now over here. So now that it's all run, now I can just kind of put everything back together and test out the camera and see how it's going to look. So I'll put this stuff back together and then turn the camera on, and let's see how it looks and works and see how we can adjust it. So we'll get to that point. Okay, so I'm back in the cab now and got everything put back together. So now I'm just going to show you real quick what the finished product ended up looking like. As you know, I ran the power from inside the vault, and I had to just drill one hole, but it's in a place where nobody will ever see it. It's inside the tunnel of where the vault goes. And so it's just a small hole, just enough to get a little connector through that. And then I ran that right here along the panel inside here, all the way to here, and then up and through the speaker hole, which now you can see the speaker is back, reinstalled. Ran the wires up through here and through the back, and then now here you can see the little monitor right there. So what I'm going to do now is just turn it on, see what it looks like, and
here, download the free Upside app now to earn cash back.
Okay, so now you can see that is showing you that was one camera. This is the other view now. So this is the actual camera that's in the very front. This particular camera can actually show, it's got two cameras. So there's a camera on this monitor, and really this is intended to be a front-facing camera to help you if you are in an accident or something like that, because this also has a memory, and it comes with a little chip that can store a certain amount of data. I'm not really interested in it for that, although I can use it for that. Right now, I'm just focused on being able to have an off-road trail cam. So as you can see here, this is the front down low. This is right underneath my staircase. The only thing I'm noticing is that my image is flipped. So I'm gonna see if there's a setting in here that will let me write the image the other way. Because the steps are on that side and this stool is on this side. So for some reason, it's got that stuff switched over. Outside of that, this was actually a really easy install, other than, I mean, it took a couple of hours, mainly just to try to fish wire through firewalls and tunnels and all this stuff. But you know, you can see there's literally no wires anywhere other than these wires right here. That's the only wires that you can see. There are no wires anywhere, no visible wires. You can't see anything but the camera up in front. And that's the kind of install I like to do when I do these types of cameras and try to hide and tuck wires the best I can. But at the end of the day, I really just did this so that when I go off-roading, I have a camera in the front so that I can turn it on and see exactly what obstacles I'm heading toward. So once I can get the image switched the right direction, I think I'll be in good shape. This particular camera I got on Amazon. It was about 150 bucks for the camera. And like I said, this camera can be used to be your forward-facing camera. And what I did was I just took the camera that usually goes in the rear, and I just used it as a front-facing camera, so that down low, so that I could have the capability of having an off-road camera. Running it through the firewall and all that was all pretty easy. It just obviously just takes time because you have to be meticulous about where you run the wires. But outside of that, I'm very pleased with how it turned out and how it looks, and I just mounted it in this spot because it's out of the way. But at least now I have a little bit of a front view so that whenever I either need to see something where I'm parking so I don't hit anything, or if I'm off-road and I can see the upcoming things that I need to crest over so I don't scrape as bad. But outside of that, I'm pretty pleased with it. So hopefully this video was relatively informative. Hopefully I tried to show you guys all the different spots where the wires were going, and apologize if there was not a perfect lighting, but I tried to put lighting where I could to make things as visible as possible. Now on the next video, I'm going to get back into a topic in medicine, and then we're going to come right back into the Bronco, and I've got some other things that I'm going to be installing. So hopefully you guys continue to watch. I appreciate all your support, and like always, keep hitting the thumbs up and the like so that I can continue to get the channel to grow. Outside of that, I appreciate everybody who watches, and I appreciate your support. Until next time, this is Motors and Medicine signing off. Thanks.